Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What would you say you do here?
God damn it. Bob, we love playing here tonight. My brother's ready.
It helps if you think of it as a game, Bob. Every game has a winner and a loser.
You must possess strength to inflict pain, Bob.
What is up from snowy Cleveland, Ohio and cold, very cold, stupid cold. We are the Two Bobs Cast. This is episode 65 of our weekly, sometimes bi-weekly podcast where we go A to Z, rock and metal. We go rank all the albums, talk about our live shows, all that fun stuff. This is episode 65. We're in the letter S.
Retirement age for a podcast here.
Yeah, we're eligible for Medicare now. Medicare.
Yes,
so
yes.
we are Medicare eligible as a podcast. But once again, I'm here with my podcast partner and business associate, Mr. H. You staying warm over there, Mr. H?
Sorta. My feet are cold, but
Yeah.
I'm on the lower level of the house, so the floor's cold, man.
It is.
So I got 2 pairs of socks and slippers on. My feet are still cold, but otherwise it's not too bad. So, but yeah, we're doing okay. We got the snowblower out and got rid of like the whole foot of snow off the driveway, and then we just had some squall come through. I swear, it dropped 4 inches. I'm like, that was great. So yeah, but anyway, it's wintertime. It's Northeast Ohio. That's the way it goes. So sometimes worse than others. I think this is the worst one we've had in the last 4 or 5 years that I can remember. Like a whole foot of snow at once. Like that's a lot.
Well, we just had a foot like a week and a half ago too. So
yeah,
at least I had it here. I don't know. You're a little bit.
I didn't have that much. I think it was more like 6 inches or so. It wasn't that much. Like this was taller than the opening of my snowblower. It was hard to even get through it because it was coming like over the top. Like last time I didn't have that problem, but it was still a pretty good amount. But yeah, the last few years is we had one. It was like I want to say November. We had a snowstorm like 2-3 years ago now. And then we didn't have much the rest of that year, and it was actually really low snowfall total for the whole year. But yeah, this was a bad one, man. Shut a lot of stuff down.
Yeah, absolutely. My kid hasn't been to school in like a week, and I think they're going back tomorrow, though, as of now, but we'll see.
Yeah, because you got the cold, too. I mean, they shut schools down for cold now, too. That I don't really remember, but I also wouldn't remember if maybe they did. If it was 5 below, they shut the schools down. But it seemed like it was always just for snow. But but I don't know. Well, I'm old, too. But you know what we have now? We have a cold day memory.
We do have excellent reference to the band that we will be doing today and covering for you and ranking the albums
for us.
for us, of course.
Mm-hmm.
The band Sevendust. Man, we're gonna have lots of cool stories about Sevendust. We both were there really early from the beginning. I just one of those bands I get. If you ask a fan of theirs, they'll tell you. One of the most consistent bands out there of everything that they release, everything that they do is so good, so consistent. Just a really top-notch band. Seemed to, by all indications, just cool, solid dudes, like really nice guys. They're interesting because like it's a band I can't get my wife into because they are pretty heavy. They're
sometimes they're heavy enough that it just turns a lot a lot of people.
The singer is very R&B, like one of these, really soulful singers. So it got a lot of melody, but going through and listening to these albums.
It's that angry Morgan Rose back there, man.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe
turns off the ladies.
Maybe. So they're heavy.
Yeah,
You know,
they're heavy, but they do, like you said, they have a lot of melody too. So there's a lot to like there.
Yep, absolutely. All right, partner. Well, we got a lot of albums to get
Yeah,
into. So what do you got?
13 albums. All
Yep.
right. Sevendust originally started in Atlanta, Georgia, as Rumblefish by Vinnie Hornsby, bass player, and Morgan Rose on drums. They did kind of an exhaustive search. I'm shortening this up a little bit, but they did kind of an exhausting search for a singer, and found LaJohn Witherspoon on vocals, and they were joined by Lee Banks on guitar. They renamed themselves Crawl Space due to another band with the same Rumblefish name. And then Lee Banks left due to kind of the gig schedule that they were on, and it was just too much for him. So he was like, "I'm gonna go call it quits and do other things." And then he got replaced by Clint Lowry on guitar, and that kind of almost completed the band. Another band called Crawl Space wanted $2,500 from Sevendust for them to give up the name that they had first. So they changed it again to Sevendust, and it was inspired by an insecticide brand they saw on the side of a van or a truck called Sevendust, Sevin space dust, and then changed it to seven, like the number seven, dust. So that's a cool story about how they got their name. They were then joined in 1994 by the second guitarist, John Connolly, and then they kind of set out to tour and then ended up recording their first album, which came out April 15th, 1997. It is a self-titled debut called Sevendust. It's 11 songs on here, kind of sort of famously produced by JJ French and Mendoza of Twisted Sister. So Mark Mendoza, like, I thought
The Animal.
that's a really cool thing to have, a band of that stature, like a couple members produce your album. That's pretty cool. This album and this band was unlike anything that was around musically at that time. They combined metal, industrial, rock, soulful vocals, even some rap elements. They had a sound all their own right from the start, and they were instantly, for me, recognizable and immediately grabbed my attention the first time I saw them. Excuse me. First time I saw them was in 1997. It was at Blossom Music Center at something called the Roar Festival. The Roar Festival had bands like Sponge, the Nixons, Bloodhound Gang, Tonic, Iggy Pop, and a bunch of other bands. And my girlfriend at the time was into some of those other bands. So, I did like Tonic and Bloodhound. The first Tonic album is really good. And Bloodhound Gang was okay to me too, even though they're kind of like kind of the Steel Panther of the time. They write kind of funny songs, but they're catchy and they write some good songs. And we went and saw the show, and I saw this band play that doesn't sound like any of those bands, and that was Sevendust. And then I was like, man, like who was that? So I remembered the name. I went home. I remember telling my brother about this killer band that I heard, and he's like, "You saw them at what? At Tonic?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." He's like, "And this band was there," and I'm like, "Yeah." So we listened to them, and I think the first album had just come out. The album came out in April. This was summer of '97, but I hadn't heard a single song by them. I just saw them at this concert, and I'm like, "What was that?" So I told him, and then we went and saw them at I think it was at the Odeon, but the setlist has it listed as Peabody's according to setlist.fm with Snot in late 1997. And then we saw them again with Coal Chamber at Nautica in
Yep.
1998 because we both loved Coal Chamber that we saw on Ozfest. And then obviously I also saw them at Ozfest in Akron at the Rubber Bowl in 1998, and these were all for the same album. That the side note of the Ozfest, and I don't think we've actually done an actual just Ozfest episode, have we? But we probably could do just an Ozfest episode. I know we've talked about many of the Ozfests we went to, but
Yeah.
I don't remember if we actually did one. I don't think we
We
did.
didn't, not on, we've done an
We talked
Ozzy.
about it, but
Yeah.
we did talk about Ozfest a lot in Ozzy. But anyway, that was probably the best Ozfest. I mean,
Oh.
1997 and 2000 were killer also. Along with 1999, which I saw in Pittsburgh. Like, there's so many bands that became really big out of all of those Ozfest. But I want to say that 1998, with Tool and Megadeth and Limp Bizkit and, Ozzy and Sabbath and like, it was so huge. Motorhead. I mean, it goes on at that one. And that was 1998, and Sevendust was there too. And I've met all of the 5 members of this band at different times along all of these times that I saw them. And that was at that one is when I met LeJohn there. I saw him walking around in the parking lot. And I'm like, hey, I know who that guy is because I'd already seen this band. And even though they weren't huge, real super popular yet, I think they were main stage, but they were early main stage.
Like the second band, I think.
Yeah. And I remember, and like nobody was like talking to him. He was just kind of walking around by himself. And I said hi to him and shook his hand and stuff. And I was like, man, I'm a huge fan of you guys. You guys are awesome. And he was like, cool, man. He's really cool. All these guys are really nice people.
Yep.
But anyway, this album also it's like super like raw production, like I've never heard, but it still sounds great. It almost has like a live feel to it when you listen to this album. It's not very polished, but it sounds amazing at the same time. It's almost hard to describe, but I could not get enough of this band or album after I had heard them, and then my brother and I had seen them a bunch of times, and we both loved them. And I wanted to see them every time they came around. They're an incredible live band right from the start, pretty much until today. There are some criticisms we have a little bit later, but it's almost hard to criticize this band at all. I have these albums all ranked really high. This band is so consistent. They don't do a lot of experimenting. There's even some fatigue, I want to say, a little bit from them because they write so many similar songs, but they're all kind of good in their own way. It's so hard to kind of criticize them at all, but it's so hard. It makes them so hard to rank these albums too. So I can't just give them all A's. I can't pull a Drake for Van Halen and John Drake,
right?
Talking to Infinity, our buddy, and just rank them all A pluses. I just can't do that. There's definitely better ones than other ones, but on this one in particular, the first 4 songs here are just no doubters. And there's songs that they still play live, although some infrequently, but they do still play all of these from time to time. And also the song written as Crawl Space. Oh, I'm sorry. Those 4 songs are Black, Bitch, Terminator, and Too Close to Hate. My brother and I, like, we love Terminator and especially Too Close to Hate. Like, that's where the pit would really get going. And my brother and I we'd loved that. And, we would almost want to start our own mosh pit by ourselves, just the 2 of us when that song would come on or we'd play this album, we both loved that song. And like I said, this whole album. So, but also, the song that they written as Crawl Space, My Ruin, and Born to Die are great songs near the end of this album also, but the whole thing is killer. There's no way skipping album. It's fantastic all the way through. You can't say that about a lot of bands, and a lot of bands sometimes their debuts aren't really that great, and they kind of build up to having greater albums. But this band was just right away, again, just total distinct. Like nobody sounds like them. Just grabbed me right away. I loved everything about them. So this one gave me an A. I'm giving an A plus. So this is number 2 for me though. So that tells you I have another A plus as well. I still, to this day, I can't turn this album off once I turn it on almost 30 years later. It's incredible. What did you think of the self-titled Sevendust after I talked for like 10 minutes straight?
No, you are good, man. I have a lot of the same kind of experiences with this band. I get a lot of times that you mentioned, I saw them that same show. So, I can't even pinpoint the genesis of this band for me because it's always existed. Again, you mentioned you were, mid-20s when this came out. I'm a little bit younger than you, so I was a late teenager, And I remember still being in high school going to see these shows at night, over at the Odeon and the Agora and Nautica.
Big
Like
black X's on your hands.
basically, yeah,
Right?
I
Yeah.
couldn't drink, but I was listening. Um, but I know a buddy of mine found the album somewhere, and we always cruised around in his car. He was the driver. He was one of the first guys in our group to get his driver's license. So he had this album, always played it, and then we just always went to see them. That was just a band that we always went to see. And this was the album. Again, I absolutely love it, and I defend it a lot to people because it's hard if you got into this band later on to get into the more polished stuff that they did later on to come back to this, because it sounds really out of place. Like you almost have to be there as the transition of it to go into the other albums. So, I defend it a lot. I think it's a terrific album. It has dropped a little bit for me over the years just because I think of the quality of some of the other stuff. But it's fantastic. I still have so much fun listening to it. Like they don't do a lot of guitar solos here and there, but there's a ton of them on this album. Just really, really good songs, and front to back. Obviously, the first four that you mentioned, they still play Black and Bitch all the time. Those are the two that they always play. I feel like when we seen them at Nautica, they played like Too Close to Hate or something like that. I was super pumped about that. Prayer's a little bit weird for me still. To this day, the lyrics are a little bit weird, but everything else on here I think is killer. I wouldn't skip Prayer, but the lyrics are a little bit weird for me. But Speak is awesome. I love that song. The riff on it is so good. These guys are guitar geniuses. I don't know. It's so simple. Everything that they do is so simple, but it's so good. It's so hard. It's so catchy. I love it. My Ruin, creepy little song. I'm Born to Die. Great closer. All these that you mentioned. This is a great album. I had it an A minus. I have it number 4, but again, we're still in the A range here for me. It takes me back, and I will defend this to the death. This is great, great stuff. Probably like you, I've probably seen this album maybe 8, 9, 10 times live, and they literally would just play this album. They would play it in a different order, but every time you seen them, they would just play the whole album. And I kind of miss those days, right? We talked about seeing them now.
Yes.
They play 10 songs or 12 songs, and they just have so much material.
Yeah.
It's hard. They miss a lot of this stuff, and they always got to play Bitch, right? And they always got to play Black.
Yeah.
I want to hear some of this other stuff, but it's a fantastic album and a great starting place. It is kind of labeled new metal, and I think it was in that time frame, but these guys, this one is probably the only one that I would say they have any kind of argument, because like you mentioned, there's a little bit of like rapping more in this. It's a little more of that rap metal type stuff, but it's not even consistently that, because Lejeune sings so well.
Yeah.
And then you throw the screams in there that Lejeune has a growl, in a lot of his stuff. And then, as we've mentioned, the drummer, Morgan Rose, a lot of screaming too. That's kind of a signature sound of theirs as well, is his like wailing in the background, right? And and I'm gonna probably rave about his drumming a million times in this episode as well, because the dude is just phenomenal.
Yes, he's a beast, man.
And I always loved he had the lower drum set, so he would play like on top of it.
Yeah, you could really see him, unlike some of the other drummers that have like their kit build up so big.
Yeah, like kind of cower behind it. But
yeah,
he, like the way he plays, he was like playing on top of it, and you can see his dreads going flying all over the place.
I always think Nico of Iron Maiden, because he had such a huge kit, like you couldn't even see. You could see the top of his head, and every once in a while you'd see a stick fly up, but you couldn't really see what he was doing at all unless they had a camera behind him. So, but yeah, Morgan Rose was not like that at all.
No.
And I think he even sits sideways also. So that he I don't think he did that at first. I'm not sure, but he kind of redid his kit. And he kind of sits a little sideways where you could see him even better. The only other one I ever remember doing it was Robert Sweet from Striper. He was the first one I ever saw that sat like sideways, so you could see his legs
Yeah.
pumping the kick drum and stuff, and you could see what he was hitting and see him from like a profile view, which was pretty cool. But Morgan Rose does some of that too.
Yeah, Danny Carey used to do that too when with Tool. I remember when we saw him at the Ozfest, he was in the front corner of the band. And he
I
at
remember
the
that
side
too,
like
yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really rare, but it's awesome watching him play. And again, their guys are so much fun on the stage. They're all over the place. They interact with the crowd, all of them. Even Vinny, who's a hilarious, like really Southern drawl, like hearing him talk, like he's really, really hilarious.
He's a deep South Atlanta like guy. Like I bet he lives nowhere near Atlanta. He probably grew up in like middle Georgia, out in the sticks, like next to Luke Bryan somewhere. So funny.
Yeah, so good dudes, but yeah, I'll kind of get on with it, and we won't talk too much, about all these other albums with all stories and stuff. But but this is great. This is number 4 for me, A-, self-titled Sevendust.
All right, on to Home, which is August 24th, 1999. There's 13 songs on here. One of them is an 8-second intro, the 12th track on here. So it's really only 12 songs. I mean, 8 seconds is pretty short. So this was produced by Toby Wright and the band. And this one for me is just another crushing record. Like this is more polished as far as production goes, but still great, still heavy. You could kind of hear them, even though the first album is so good, you can hear them growing together as musicians and being like tighter than ever. There's more harmony vocals here. It's just crushing riffs that are in some cases even heavier than the first album, and more complete songwriting here too. I saw them a bunch more times on this tour with Metallica, Gun Arena, at the Odeon. At the Odeon on their own, at Tattoo of the Earth Festival in the Flats, opening for Creed in Toledo with Three Doors Down. Like I still couldn't get enough of this band. Like I said, there's probably a couple more times in there that I didn't even mention. Like I would travel to see this band. We liked them so much, and then by this point, I got my friends into them too. And I didn't have the same problem you did. My friends all love the first album, and like they don't like some of the softer stuff later. Like I don't have any of that problem. Like I didn't have to talk that one up or defend it to anybody. We all still love that album. So if I had called up people I went to those shows with, almost 30 years later, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I still listen to that one." Like yeah. So, but this one is amazing also. Rumblefish, Crumbled and Feel So are songs on here that I feel like sound the most like the debut to me, but this is all still like undeniably Sevendust. Like the other songs kind of you could hear more of a growth in there. Those songs, I don't know if those were written earlier, but those ones to me sound a little bit more like the first album. But Licking Cream, the song Licking Cream with Skin, the singer from Skunk Anansi, is a great song also with a guest vocal, as well as the even better last track Bender with Chino from the Deftones. Killer song. It actually, it's a Sevendust song, but when Chino's on there, it's he's undeniably Deftones, right? So it's a great Deftones and Sevendust collaboration. Just it works so well. It's a great song. I'd love to hear them do that together someday too.
Yeah,
probably never happened. But my favorites on this one, Home is another killer opening track, just like Black on the debut. Denial with the undeniable chorus and just crazy great riff on there. Rumblefish is another one with an unbelievable riff, like just like an oh my god kind of riff. Can I get a witness? It's just oh my goodness, so good. Bender, as I mentioned, so hard to choose. I love all of these songs, every one of them. Skippers, there's no freaking way, man. There's no way I'm skipping a single song. This is another album I can't turn off once I turn it on. This one's A+. This one is, I want to say it's almost kind of a nostalgic thing. Like there's a couple of albums that kind of came close to this, But this one's number one for me because this is where I loved them the most, and I could not get enough of them. Even these other albums that are kind of close to me, there's still some points of those records where I'm like, it almost Seven Dust doesn't ever really get old for me, but like I said, there's almost a little bit of fatigue there after a while because they have so many songs that are so similar and they're so good, but it's like I've heard some of that stuff before almost, where it's a different sound, but it's similar. And it's just, I don't like it as much as when I first heard it on these two albums. Like this was to me, like it just, and like we talk about, there's some nostalgic and some deep stuff there, deep love for them that, you know, I can't deny. Like I can't put anything ahead of these just because I just can't do it. But it's another unbelievable good collection of songs. I like this, I like the more complete songwriting on this one a little bit more than the debut. That's why I rank this one above that one. But I do love the rawness and industrial sounds of the first one too, the industrial kind of soundingness of that. And it's so close between these two, but I have this one as number one, A plus. What did you think of Home?
Yeah, Home is fantastic. Again, all those shows that you mentioned, I probably was at 90% of those. I remember seeing them at Warped Tour was a memory for me because I had a bunch of friends that were into, more of the punk rock scene. And I felt like I was showing them something because obviously they were the ones that were like, oh, you have to see, whoever. I'm trying to think of those names of those bands. The
Blink
Anti-Flags.
182.
Not even, Blink 182 was there.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking the Anti-Flag and Dropkick Murphys, like those type of bands, like were like, oh, they're so awesome. But I was like, check this out. Check Sevendust, and I remember I got a bunch of them. Like, wow, this is sweet. He's up there. LeJohn's like flinging his dreads all over and all that stuff. And I remember sitting there. That was the first time I heard Home and Denial. Funny story about that is, again, that Home album wasn't out yet, but I remember LeJohn came out and he's like, "You guys want to hear a new song?" And he said, "This one's called Denial." And I thought he said this one was called The Nile. The joke of denial is a river in Egypt. Like, I thought he was saying the Nile. I was like, "Oh, the Nile is a great song." And I walked away like, okay, amazing. But I love Home for sure. To me, it was, I totally agree with you. Like, it was as good as the first one, but it was just better produced. It's just better writing, better songwriting. They built off it in every single way. And I think they took a step closer to the style that they were going to be at pretty much the rest of their career. Like if you listen to, like I said, if you've not listened to any of them except for the later stuff, and then you come back to the self-titled, you'd be like, okay, that's a little weird. That's a little rough for me. But Home, I think, is a good transition to see where they came from to kind of where they went. So it's like the perfect record between the self-titled and Animosity to just kind of show you like this is like a perfect transition record for them, but better in every way. I totally agree with that. Everything on here is strong. I definitely don't have any skippers on this one. I think like Reconnect is one that's one I go back to a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Crumbled is really, really good. Yeah. Bender, like you mentioned, but of course the hits Denial and Waffle and what a stupid name to a song, but my God, that song is so good.
It's so good.
The don't just these guys, and I know we've talked about this before with many other bands, but just the economical riffs that this band has, and they just kill it. It just there's nothing.
They write like my favorite style of heavy riff too, which is that chunky, half muted. Like I love that stuff, and they do it nonstop. They do it all the time, and it's always a little different. It's always catchy. Yes, it's so good, man.
So heavy, so good. So heavy. It hits, one memory I kind of have is they kind of got their first like big break-ish kind of thing with Woodstock 99. And I remember the video when they did Rumblefish, and he did the build up of the get get up. And then,
Yeah.
they da-da-da, and then when they kicked it in, like, you got to see all of those, million people or whatever crazy amount of people that were there all bouncing at the same time. You see Korn when they did the Are You Ready with
Yeah.
Blind. It was
Yeah.
kind of the same
Yeah.
type of
It
thing.
was. Yep.
Just really, really, really cool. But yeah, Home is fantastic. Number 3 for me, just a little bit above the self-titled. Like I said, just better in every way, and definitely an A album for me. The self-titled was an A minus. This one's built on it, so this one's going to get an A from me. So Home, A, number 3.
All right. On to Animosity, November 13th, 2001. 13 songs on this one. This was produced by Ben Gross and the band. And at this point, I feel like there's no end to their greatness, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how I felt when this album came out. I'm like, can these guys do anything wrong? Like they just put out 2 of the best albums, 2 of my favorite albums over the course of like 3 or 4 years. And then they put this one out, and then I'm listening to this one, and I'm like, man, they did it again. I mean, the only other band that kind of did that for me around this time was Disturbed, like, man, I couldn't, and this was before that even, but man, these guys, I just couldn't get enough of this stuff. This one, the production for me on this one's not as full. It's a little flat. I can't hear the bass kind of as well on here as Home. Like you put Home on, if you turn that up too loud, like if you don't have decent speakers, like you're gonna have some distortion in there because there's a lot of low end in there. There's a lot of low heavy riffs in there. This one you can't really hear as much of that. You can't hear the kick drum as well. Like it's a little flatter for me. And I don't know why that is. It's not terrible. It doesn't even sound bad. I'm not going to say that. It just doesn't have the fullness that Home did. Like, and it doesn't have the live kind of raw sound that the first one did. It's definitely more polished, but it's just flatter sounding. Saw him a couple more times on this tour with Flaw at the Agora. That was one
there.
where and the Loco Bazooka tour at the Agora with Nonpoint.
I was there.
Saw him at that one too. I think there was another time I saw him in there. I think maybe I know I saw him more than once with Nonpoint, but I might be thinking of that. Was that at Nautica with Cold Chamber? Was Nonpoint at that one too? Maybe, I don't know. I know I saw him multiple times with Nonpoint because I had never heard of Nonpoint, and Nonpoint, I guess, had a similar sound. They were nowhere near as good, but they kind of had a similar-ish sound to Sevendust, so it kind of made sense. I don't know if they knew each other too. I think Nonpoint's kind of from the South as well, so they did tour quite a bit with Nonpoint. I know I saw them at festivals with Nonpoint and on tours, multiple tours on their own. With
God, I love that first Nonpoint record.
Yeah,
I
didn't
absolutely
mind them.
love it.
Yeah, I liked them too, but it dropped off for me really fast.
They didn't have the longevity of solid that Sevendust did.
Right. So they went a little more mainstream radio friendly or kind of anthem-y in spots on this one. Songs like Trust and Christmas Day, Follow, Damage, Live Again. It still sounds like them, but not as heavy as it was on Home. And kind of a few songs here, they kind of start to sound the same. Again, I'm nitpicking. Like I had this album as an A minus, right? Like, so don't take this the wrong way, but there's songs that, like, as I listen to it now, like back then I absolutely loved it, right? But when I listen to it now, I'm like, there's songs that kind of start to sound the same, even though I still like them. Damaged, Live Again, and Beautiful are all very similar sounding songs, and they're all right in a row on this album. So it's like, okay, I kind of almost feel like I've already heard this, but they're still really good songs. My favorites on this one are TOAB, which is Tits on a Boar. Praise, Crucified is probably my favorite song on this album. Christmas Day, again, really shows off LaJohn's vocals. It's beautiful, beautiful song. It gives me chills listening to him sing that song. It really does. Even just this past week and a half listening to it, like it gives me chills. Like it's fantastic. Shine is great. Follow is incredible. Angel's Son was written as a tribute to Lynn Strait of Snot. Snot was they were the first band that played at that 98 Ozfest on the main stage before Sevendust. And I did see them with Sevendust at Peabody's, or I think it was the Odeon early on too. So it was very sad. Lynn Strait of Snot and his dog died in the car accident. His dog is the one on the cover with the tennis ball on their debut, which I believe is still the only album that Snot ever put out. But that's an incredible song also, Angel Sun. Very, very good tribute and just a great song. Skippers, none on this one. Like I said, it does get a little repetitive in spots. I think they kind of fell in love a bit with the kind of mid-tempo rocker, a la kind of Three Doors Down or Creed, which I did see them with, and it was an unbelievably great show, for the home tour that they were on. But they kind of fell in love with kind of writing some songs like that. Again, they're not boring and they're still well done, but it's just not as heavy as I'd liked them before. I liked the heaviness, and some of that was a little bit missing here and there on this album. It just wasn't all kind of there. Like you said, it kind of started on the last album, kind of going this direction. This is just more of that. Still good songs though. So I had this as an A minus. I have this at number 4. There's another one I have at A minus later on that I liked better than this one, which I don't think I would have ranked higher than this one 10, 15 years ago. So, or even when that one came out, but I like that one more now, and we'll get to that one later. So it's not on the level for me as the first 2 albums, but I still do really like it, and we'll just let it play. There's nothing that I want to skip on here. But it's not like I want to stop what I'm doing and rock out for this whole album. Like I kind of and can't concentrate on anything else. Like if those other 2 albums were on, like I almost can't do other things. I mean, I can drive a car, but I almost can't work because I'm thinking about shows that I've seen him at, or I'm thinking about how great this song is and the songwriting and the words, and like I want to sing along and rock out. Like I almost can't do other. It's too distracting because it's so good. But this one, I don't kind of have that. I don't feel that way about this one. But and again, I do still really like it. A minus, number 4 for Animosity. Where did you have Animosity?
Likewise, this is the crown jewel of Sevendust for me. Maybe it's age, maybe it's nostalgia, but this was the album that has the most memories, most like what was I doing when I listened to this? Like this album to me was everything I wanted in music. It was, I agree. It's not as heavy as those first 2, but the songwriting I think is absolutely fantastic. I know every word to this. I know every part. I know every piece. And when I listened to it this week, and I still do listen to it a lot, it just every single song is just so good. It's hard for me to even pick favorites. It would annoy me to skip any of this. Not alone, just wouldn't want to skip it. It's just I love every piece of this album. Just it's held up for me. I still sing to these all the time. I wish they would do. I think they did do an Animosity whatever anniversary tour.
They did.
They didn't come here.
Just pretty recently too, like in 2023. So only a couple years ago.
Yeah, I think my buddy I was. I
thought that was here at House of Blues though. Actually,
okay. If I did, I missed it. I know
I did too. I missed it too, but I think it was here.
My buddy Steve, who was in the band with me and the other Brian that comes in here, we were in a band together. He was kind of my Sevendust confidant. Like that was the band that we really liked together. And I think his wife surprised him and took him to Detroit, I think, to see this Animosity tour. And he was sending me a bunch of pictures and videos of it. I was just like, man. So I'll be even more disappointed if it was in Cleveland and I missed it. But yeah, fantastic. Trust is like one of my favorite Sevendust songs. Crucified, like you mentioned, I think is so good. That's like the best usage of the different vocalists with Rose, and Rose is an angry man. He does a lot of cussing out people in songs and things like that, which is it works really well with LaJohn singing. Even got a fairly young Aaron Lewis on here on Follow. Good song. Damaged, Live Again. I love those songs. Beautiful, really, really good. You mentioned Angel's Son. Yeah, again, this to me, I can't tell at this point if it's nostalgia or, again, I just have so many memories of seeing this, and this is the one that stands out the best, the test of time for me. Animosity number one, A+. Absolutely love it. Everything that they've done after this, I've basically compared to this, and most obviously everything has fallen short to that to this day. But again, I can't knock them because they're very consistent, and every album is something I want to listen to.
Yeah.
But to me, this is number one for me. Animosity, A+, number one.
Okay, you're going to be sorry to hear May 1st, 2022 at the Agora Animosity 21st anniversary show. There's even a set list on here. So,
dang it.
Yeah. So,
oh well.
So not 2023, but a year before that. But yeah, it was. Wish I would have went to that one too. But again, this isn't my favorite album of theirs. But it's kind of funny because if I were to guess, but also knowing you, but knowing kind of your history with this band and kind of knowing what you like, that would have been my guess for your number one. So but what your number two is though, I don't think that was Home 2.
No, two. No,
so I think we're still missing your number 2, right?
Yeah, Home was 3. Self-titled was 4.
Okay, I'm curious to see what your 2 is because that one I don't know what it would be, but I would have guessed Animosity was 1. But it is a great album too. Like I said, I feel a little differently about it now than I did. And I liked the heavier stuff, and again, it just like you said, for nostalgic reasons. That's why I liked Home and the first one so much, just because it just takes me right back to those times. So. But you have a lot of those memories too. So
sure.
It's we like what we like. So and again, it's not like I think that's a bad album, but
right.
Anyway, so on to Seasons. This is October 7th, 2003. 12 songs on this one. This is produced by Butch Walker. What was what's Tobias's handle again?
Yeah, not Butch Walker. Butch
No,
Walker's
it's not.
an actual guy.
It sounds similar to that.
It's something else Walker. Yeah,
it's something. It just I see that now. I see this guy's name.
Yeah.
He was an actual person, and it makes me laugh because I think of Tobias and his producer pseudonym, which is kind of weird. Production's a little bit fuller again on this one, which is good. I thought it just sounds a little bit better, even though Animosity sounds good.
Gene Walker, that's what it is. Gene Walker.
There we go. Oh, that's so good.
Awesome.
This album was dedicated to Dave Williams of Drowning Pool, who passed away in 2002 on the tour bus during Ozfest. I was at the 2002 Ozfest stop here in Cleveland, or in Akron, Cuyahoga Falls, really, and Blossom. I think 4 shows before Dave Williams died. So,
and he was awesome too.
Great dude.
Yeah.
Really, really good singer. They were really starting to go places too.
Oh yeah.
And that was a huge loss for them. And it sucks that it happened on the Ozfest tour. And at that tour, the guitarist and bass player came over and sat right next to us. We had seats behind the soundboard, or kind of next to the soundboard. And I guess maybe that's where they had extra seats for band members or whatever. But me and my buddy were sitting there, and I'm like, it was kind of, he's definitely recognizable, a guitar player, because he had a bald head, but he had a big round spot of hair in the back, but a really super long braid down the back of his neck. It wasn't like you didn't know who he was, but so he came over and they sat, him and the bass player and a couple girls, obviously, they came over and sat right next to us, and we were chatting with them for a couple minutes and talked about how much we liked their set. So it was pretty cool. But anyway, I remember that Dave Williams wasn't with them though, but yeah, it's pretty sad. But this album was also dedicated to LaJohn Witherspoon, the singer, his brother Reginald, who was shot and killed in 2002, sadly, and understandably also caused a bit of a band hiatus for a bit. But this album was dedicated to both of those guys. I saw them a few more times on this tour, once at the Agora with Il Nino, once at Scene Pavilion with Nonpoint again, and Skindred, which I didn't really like Skindred. I never really did. But this is the first time I ever saw Skindred. I'm like, who's Skindred? So I remember like a found somebody that had the album. I was trying to listen to them, and I just couldn't get into them. But then saw them again at the House of Blues with Boba Flex. So I think at this point, by my count, just without the ones that I'm sure I'm missing, up till now, I had seen them 13 times just with the ones I mentioned. So I'll probably stop mentioning them now, because I've probably seen them at least another 7 or 8 more times. You know, I've seen this band easily 20 plus times. But this is kind of still leaning a bit toward radio friendly rock stuff, kind of similar to Animosity. But on this one, the songs aren't as good for me. Again, not stale sounding yet, you know, and not too repetitive, but kind of getting close. Yes, I've seen them with a lot of iffy opening bands. This is this Rob here. This is Jacqueline Burke. This is my buddy Rob, who sends us his rankings on some bands as well. But yeah, I have seen them with a lot of iffy bands, and I'm sure that you would probably call them an iffy band yourself, because he really only likes a few of their albums. So, but my favorites on this one are Disease, Enemy, Separate, and the last track, Face to Face, is the best song on this album. Sounds a lot like it should be on the Home album. The rap part 2/3 of the way through isn't great, but it's very short. But that's a fantastic song. I do have some skippers on here. Skeleton Song doesn't really work for me as a ballad on this one. And the song Burned Out is kind of blah for me too. This one I have as a solid B, so it's not too far down the list. Again, it's an album that I like. I just don't like it nearly as much as the other ones so far. But I have it at number 7, so this is right in the middle of their catalog for me. Not as many great tracks and a couple of skippers, but still a couple of bangers on here. Face to Face, man. God, I love Face to Face. That's a great, great song. What did you think of Seasons?
Yep, Swag Dubs, welcome. It's not, there's no permanent start time, but it works out for us to start a little earlier now. My wife was working later, now she works earlier, so it works better to have a little time in the evening now. But I don't know that we've ever had like a permanent time, but probably earlier if we can. So if we can get started about 6 Eastern time, that's what we're looking at.
6:15 is probably where we're going to be at most of the time from going forward.
Yep. But look no further than my number 2. You know, as much as I liked Animosity, I'm surprised you didn't think I would like this one as much too.
Huh.
I think this is another killer album. It's basically, to me, it's Animosity Part 2. It's a lot of the same stuff, a lot of the same song, like a lot of the song riff. I agree, it's not quite as heavy as the first 2, but I absolutely love.
So you like Skeleton Song and Burned Out? You must like those a lot.
I think Burned Out is fantastic. Skeleton Song is probably my least favorite on the album. I do like Burned Out. I think the hook is super catchy. But yes, I think especially the first half of the album and the last 3 songs I think are wonderful. Disease, Enemy. I love the the title track, Seasons. Broken Down is really good. Separate is really good. But Suffocate, Gone, and Face to Face as closers on this album, I think are amazing. Yeah, and you know what? Maybe the fact that this band changed so much after this album, to me, for a long time, I didn't know that they were really going to have something as good as the Sevendust stuff that I like. And I think these 2 albums have really just stood the test of, well, the first 4 really, because those are my top 4 albums from this band. So for me, it's those first 4 records have really stood out to me still over the years. So yep, as I said, Seasons is number 2. It's an A+ for me. Those Animosity into Seasons, like, to me, that is what I want to listen to with Sevendust. It has all the elements that I like. While I do like when they are heavier, I think that I like the songs better when they're like this. But luckily for us, they do a little bit of all of their first 4 albums, even going forward. So
continually, yes,
yeah.
they do.
So you kind of get to pick and choose as you go. a lot of albums, you're going to find a little bit of everything. So they're a really good band of kind of picking up where they left off the last album and doing something a little different, but not real different. But yeah, I love Seasons. So, we've just seen my top 4 albums. So be interested to see where they go from here. But I got Seasons number 2 and an A+.
All right. You're right. There's kind of heavy stuff on almost all of these albums. So there's not like, I'm not sure there's any albums where there's songs that I don't like, like I can't count how many times in my notes here I have killer riff here, oh my god riff here, like crazy great riff here, like on every album. I mentioned it at least once probably on here somewhere. So on to next.
What's the next album?
Next.
That's right.
No, it's next. What's next? Next is up. Next. October 11th, 2005. There's 11 songs on this one. This is the band produced. They do a lot of their own self producing. They came out with, I don't know if you want to mention this one. I think you probably do want to mention the other one, but they came out with Southside Double Wide Live Acoustic in between these two, which we're not going to review. And they came out with probably a better acoustic album later, much better acoustic album later that has some originals on it that we're not going to rank either, but I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But this is the first album with Sonny Mayo on guitar in place of Clint Lowry, who started a band called Dark New Day with his brother Corey of Stuck Mojo, who I absolutely love. We'll probably never do them on this podcast, but I absolutely love that band. And Stereo Mud, which is also a band I really liked back then too. I think they only had 2 albums.
Yep.
But I had actually saw them a couple times live. They were really good. I saw Stuck Mojo a whole bunch of times. I love Stuck Mojo. But anyway, so Corey and Clint, I don't blame Clint for wanting to go start a band with his brother. I'm sure they always wanted to be in a band, but they're always in separate bands. So they had an opportunity to do their own thing, and they did. Again, I like the heavier stuff, the slower rock, kind of radio-ish stuff. Kind of gets a little blah for me here, like This Life, for example. It's a good song. I do like the song, but it's sometimes it's just a bit repetitive to many of their other songs that are like that. But I do still like the song. Again, I don't want to try to make it sound like I hate these songs. I'm not skipping those, but anyway, it's just, it kind of brings it down a little bit for me. And there's a few songs on here that I like parts of, but not the rest of the song. Like I like parts of the songs, but not really the entire thing, like as a favorite song. Desertion and Never are 2 of those songs, the 9th and 10th songs on here. Like I like parts of them, but then other parts I'm like, this is just kind of getting to sound like a lot of other stuff that they do. My favorites on here are Ugly, the second song. This is 100,000,000,000% Sevendust. Pieces, same thing, just ridiculously great song. Silence, Failure, there's another killer riff here in Failure, outstanding. And the last song, it's very angry. Again, this is Morgan Rose just being angry, yelling out angry things, and it's fantastic. I absolutely love that song. It's so good. Oh man, it's about like writing a song about somebody that you hate, and like this is the last time they'll ever write about you. So it's so good. Skippers, again, This Life isn't a skipper for me, but I am going to mention it again here because between Silence and Failure, it kind of grinds the album to a halt for me. See and Believe is another song. Like I like the song, but it's not really re-listenable for me. Like I can listen to it once, but then kind of the next time through the album, I kind of want to skip it because I just heard it and it's not that great for me. The first half of Never, the song Never, the first half of it is kind of but it does pick up later. So again, this is part of more of the, I like parts of songs on here, but not necessarily the whole song. Shadows in Red again isn't terrible, but I feel like I've heard it on 3 other albums already. Like it's starting to get a little repetitive with some of the stuff here. But again, I say all that, and I have this as a B+. This is number 6, so I had this ahead of Seasons by a little bit. It's a little heavier than Seasons, which is why I like it more, obviously. And I like more of these songs and kind of rank this one higher because of that too, just because I like more of the songs. But this is a very, very top heavy album for sure. It still kind of suffers in spots from the kind of slowish radio stuff, and it kind of goes out with a bit of a whimper with the last three tracks with Desertion, Never, and Shadows in Red. Those all three together kind of is really kind of a downer to end this album because the first like first six songs are really heavy and good other than This Life, which I do also still like. So the last three songs just kind of really bring it down a bit. And I also hate that the version of this on Spotify is censored. Nothing else they put out is censored on Spotify. This album is legitimately censored. Like
Wow.
there's just stuff missing. And I'm like, what? Huh? It's very strange. I don't know why this one is censored and like other ones aren't. But yeah, I have this one as a B plus. I have so many of these in the B plus, A minus, B minus range. It's so many of these albums. They're so hard to rank. But I have this B plus number 6. What did you think of Next?
So Spotify does have clean versions. It does say clean on most of them. So
Maybe I just didn't listen to those. This is the only one I noticed that was clean, and does it say that this one's clean? It seems like it just is clean because it's censored, but it didn't tell me it was clean. But it's also the only version, I think. Right?
No, there's a Seasons clean. There's a Animosity clean. But Next, I don't see a clean. And
that's what I mean. Like, there's other versions of those. This one, it didn't give me an option.
Yeah, no, this one looks like, for me, it does have those naughty words. I don't know. Have to check it out.
Yeah, listen to it because they're censored off of here, and I don't know why. It doesn't tell me that they were. I'm like, what the? It's very strange. It's the only one I noticed. And on the other ones, I made sure I listened to as close to the original versions as I could. But this one, I was forced to listen to the clean version, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, that's weird. So this one definitely was a step back for me. When it first came out, I think it was really, really missing Clint, and where I didn't necessarily hear it a lot in the guitars, but I heard it in the melody of the singing. Clint Lowry has a fantastic voice, by the way. He does have some singing parts. Like, I know you mentioned the song Christmas Day on Animosity. He sings some of the verses of that song as well. He's got a really good voice, and I think he's really missing here in some of the harmonies. This album does not have a lot of the harmonies that I really liked on the last two albums. It's definitely more straight ahead, heavy on most of this, and that kind of fits to what Sonny Mayo is, right? He's more of that straight ahead guitar player, where Clint is a little bit more melodic, I think, in his playing and in those type of things. But you mentioned this, you nailed it. This album is so top heavy. It really kind of loses me after probably halfway through. Probably one of the weaker run of songs I think that they'll ever really do in any of their albums. But the first half is really strong. I think Hero, Ugly, Pieces, Silence, Failure. I mean, all these ones that you mentioned. The last song is good, but a lot of the other stuff on it is not real memorable. I don't think they've probably ever played hardly any of it live before. Even when I seen them live, I don't remember them playing much after Failure on this album. So, again, it's not bad. It's heavier than the last few, but definitely not a complete album for me. And I think, nothing against Sonny Mayo, but I think the way that this all kind of was put together, I don't think it sounds cohesive to me. Now, next album we'll talk about, I think, is a different story, but Next, for me, not one of my favorites. It clocked in at number 9 for me, and I have it at like a B minus. Again, where it's good, it's really good. I think some of those really heavy, Ugly riff is so cool. How they do that, the wow wow wow. It's really just again, they're so simplistic in their riffs, and they just kill it, even without Clint here. But yeah, number 9 for me and a B minus for Next.
Nice. Brian S. here says he was fortunate enough to get invited backstage party with Sevendust after their show at the Agora once. I wonder what tour that was. Do you remember? I was just curious.
It was probably around It was probably around Seasons or Animosity, because I
Yeah.
remember that's when he started to get into them with us.
Yeah.
He's best friends with that guy Steve too, as well. That we really got into them together with. Again, we were all in the same band together, but
Right.
I feel like that was either Animosity or Seasons that he got to meet them. So
nice. I'd also like to know how he got invited. Like who did you know? How did that happen? I always find that interesting. Anyway, on to Alpha, March 6th, 2007. 12 songs on this one. Sean Grove produced with John Connolly and Morgan Rose. First, I won't actually read. Speaking of censorship, I won't actually read what I wrote for the first 3 tracks on here, but just kind of a F freaking yeah. Like, I mean, just awesomeness. Give me more Morgan Rose angry vocals, please. Yes, sir. I've always been a fan of that. I love that he does it live too. It just adds so much Sevendust to the sound. Like it hardly any drummers sing, right? Like, and he doesn't necessarily sing. He does do some harmony stuff, but it's more the angry yelly stuff.
yeah,
But it just adds so much to it, and it's always crystal clear. He wears one of those headset microphones with the little boom on it, and it's just it always sounds great. And I love when they have it in there. And I find myself, I mentioned it in my notes here. I find myself that I miss it when there's not as much of it on an album. I miss it, and I'm like, man, I need more Morgan Rose on this one. It's kind of like you need more cowbell. Like you need more Morgan Rose. Get him in there. I started to think a little bit deeper this run, listening to all their catalog. I started to think a little bit deeper about this band and the similarities between this band and, say, Bullet for My Valentine and Killswitch Engage, for example. Like, this band gets branded new metal and alternative metal all up and down their catalog.
yeah,
And Killswitch gets talked about in popularizing a whole nother type of metal called metalcore. But really, there's very little difference between the two bands, between Killswitch and these guys. There's very little difference, at least with their heavier stuff. So, I'd go as far as to say that this band has had a major influence on metalcore also, because they were around before a lot of those bands were.
yeah,
If not one of the earliest bands to kind of bring that style to the forefront, where you have the super heaviness, but then you have the melodic singing of LeJohn. Like, I don't know why they don't get more credit for helping to shine some light on that these other bands get, but they don't. So they just get branded new metal because of the year that they came out. That's why I hate the new metal brand so much, because they just rubber stamp all these bands new metal that were metal around that time, and like they sound so different. Like, what do you mean? Like,
yeah,
because there was 3 verses of rapping on the first album, they're new metal. Like it, there's so much more than that. I don't know. I don't mind that there's a group of bands called new metal, and I feel like that does fit for some of those bands, but it's just such a rubber stamp from like the mid to late 90s. It's just so dumb. But anyway, I feel like this band was a huge influence on those bands, and I don't feel like they get any credit for it. So, but I love Sevendust too, so I'm a little biased. This album, I feel like, is a bit overlooked by the number of plays that these songs have on Spotify compared to other albums, but it also makes sense because the bigger like radio hits, the bigger ballady type songs are obviously on other albums. There's not as many on here, if any. So there kind of really isn't any on here. So it kind of makes sense, I guess. My favorites on here are Clueless. I absolutely love Clueless. It's such an unbelievably great song. But again, the first 3 tracks are just ridiculous. But I like Feed, Suffer, Beg to Differ. The riff on Beg to Differ it's so good. It's so good. Under is a very underrated song, and a very underplayed song if you look at Spotify. Story of Your Life is a great song. Driven is another great song. There's no skippers for me on this one. There's a couple slower spots, but nothing like elongated that would make me feel like skipping it. But this one has enough on it that I really like, that this one kind of jumped ahead of Animosity. This one I have as an A-, number 3. Again, I like the little bit heavier version of Sevendust, so this kind of fits with that, so it kind of makes sense. As much as I love Animosity also, I have them rated the same. I just had this one slightly higher because I prefer this one just a tiny little bit more because it's a little bit heavier in total. So, but I really like a lot of this album. I was surprised that I liked this one as much as I did, both when it came out and even still today. I thought maybe this one would kind of lose a little bit over time, but it really hasn't for me. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to this entire album. So I had this A- number 3. What did you think of Alpha?
So this is the one for me that when it came out, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I was still kind of down on them after Next with
Sunny.
Yeah, with Sunny, but this over the last probably 10 years, this album has creeped up because I think I agree with you. It's very overlooked. It was overlooked by myself for many years, but these songs are awesome. And I think most of them are awesome. And it's creeped up. It's creeped up. I never would have thought I would have this as high as I did because this was not one of my favorites. When I was going into this, I kind of forgot that I had acquainted myself with Alpha, and I love it. Probably a top 3 song of mine that is completely overlooked is the title track Alpha, which closes this album. It is the most brutal, heavy song that they've ever done. It's nasty, but it is awesome. Death Star, the beginning, is ridiculous name for a song, but it kicks right in. As soon as you hit play, they don't mess around. They do kind of mess around a little bit going into their songs, but not Death Star. Clueless is awesome, except for the goodies that he's entitled to line is a little silly to me, but that kind of goes along with the elephant gun and coming up in the next. There's a pump for my elephant gun that's gonna come up later on too.
Okay,
but other than that, Clueless is awesome. You mentioned Driven, Feed, Suffer, Beg to Differ, Confessions of Hatred. The it's so good. Yeah, this album's awesome. This is my favorite album that's not in those top 4. So number 5 for me, B+. And I never would have said that when it came out, but that's as I'm standing here today, or sitting here as it is. I love Alpha, and if anybody out there is a Sevendust fan of their early stuff, and this got lost in the sauce a little bit, give this a shot because to me it's really, really good, and it should get that credit because it's fantastic. And it sucks that Sonny Mayo got booted from the band right after this again, and it was shitty the way that it all went down. But obviously, he was just, it was out. It was just kind of the way it was. But Alpha was great. So thanks, Sonny Mayo, for Alpha. Not a huge fan of Next, but Alpha's fantastic. So number 5, B+, Alpha.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of grew with a new guy in the band. Like at first maybe it just was a little wonky, and then it kind of he actually didn't really have any hand in the songwriting on Next, and then on Alpha he did. So maybe that helped too, but that helped just kind of maybe drive the heaviness as well. But whether you listen to this album a lot or not back then, like this album has a real memorable quality to it. Like you hear these songs and these riffs, you're like, wow, like I remember that one. Like even if you didn't listen to it for a long time, it's real memorable.
Yeah.
So that was the one thing I kind of took away from this, because that one, they have a lot of albums. It kind of gets lost in the shuffle sometimes.
Sure.
I'm like, oh my god, I love this song, and this one too, and this one too, and this one too, and I'm like, man, how do I not listen to this more? It's just it's one of those.
Yep.
So anyhow, on to chapter 7 or 7th album, Hope and Sorrow, April 1st, 2008. 11 songs here. This is 13 months after the last album. So this is the last album to feature Sonny Mayo. So we got one more with Sonny Mayo.
One more, yeah.
This is Sean Grove, John Connolly, and Morgan Rose, which is the same producers of the last album. This album where it's good and of course sounds like a lot of the other Sevendust material before it just kind of lacks memorability, which I was just mentioning on the last album. It kind of lacks that memorableness of the last one, and that many of the previous albums have too, at least in parts on some of them. It kind of lacks those huge songs that I can't get out of my head, like the previous album left off on, like
Yeah.
with Driven and Alpha, like for example. Um, but it kind of lacks the same anger and animosity
Huh.
that shows on previous efforts like Alpha. Um, my favorites are Inside is a pretty strong opener. I like Contradiction and Walk Away more than the others. Um, it finishes pretty strong, unlike Next that kind of ended with a whimper for me. Like this one ends pretty strong. Other than Sorrow with Miles Kennedy, which is the third to last song, but the last two songs I really do like. Skipper's The Past. I like Daughtry. I like Daughtry's stuff. I like his band. I like a lot of his songs. I absolutely love the man's voice. I really do. But this song's just boring. It's just plain boring. And Sorrow with Miles Kennedy is boring for me also. And I appreciate that Miles Kennedy is a great singer, and I just whatever the guy does, I just don't find very exciting for whatever reason. I mean, I had just seen him. I talked about seeing him in our yearly recap open for Mammoth with his solo album, and it was like polite clapping, like after the orchestra, after his show, and then Mammoth comes out and does one song, and Wolfie can just stand there, and the roof's blowing off the place. Like it was night and day difference. So I just something he does, it just doesn't stick with me. But anyway, this song, as much as I love Sevendust, that song's pretty boring too. This one's B minus for me. This one's kind of down around the bottom. This one I have at number 10. Again, it sounds like Sevendust. There hasn't really been a change there. It just doesn't. The songs here just don't stick with me as much. Like I said, revisiting Alpha, and I'm like, oh my god, like there's so many of these songs I love that I forgot were all on this album. This one, I didn't get that at all. These songs don't kind of steer themselves into my brain like the previous stuff does. So B minus number 10 on chapter 7. What did you think?
Wow. I'm a little disappointed that this is not, we don't agree on the bottom, because this is my bottom. I did not like this album at all. To me, I totally agree with you where the songs are not very memorable. Listening to this was the only time I really had a hard time getting through an album. I don't really like many of these songs. I do like Inside. Enough is pretty good. But then Hope, not a fan. Scapegoat, not a fan. Fear, not great. The Past, I don't like at all. Prodigal Son is okay. That's the Elephant Gun song. That's the single off of here. They're probably actually one of their worst singles, I think. I do like Contradiction, I think you mentioned, and Walk Away are okay.
Yeah.
So the first two songs and the last two songs are about it. Everything in that middle there is very forgettable for me. But this was the one that I told you I was really contemplating. If they had a C album, this was going to be it for me. So I'm going to go ahead and give it that C minus. This is the only album that got a C from me. Number 13, just not a very big fan of this. So yeah, chapter 7, Hope and Sorrow, number 13, and a C plus for me.
Yeah, I have it tied with a couple other ones, and it was really hard. This is the one I was telling you before the podcast that I had 3 that were B minuses, and I put this one above those just because it was the oldest of the 3. Like I didn't really like, I wasn't a huge fan of 10, 11, and 12. 13 kind of stands on its own for me later on that we'll get to, and I have reasons for that. And it's reasons that I've talked about before. And it also doesn't surprise me that one isn't your 13th album, because it's stuff that was added to a band that they don't need, that you like, and I don't. So that we'll leave it at that. You already now know what that is, but we'll get there. but yeah, this is the one I kind of just ranked it. They all were similar as far as songs I like, songs I don't like.
Yeah.
It's just I put it higher just because it was the oldest of them and closest to the stuff I loved by Sevendust. So
That's fair.
anyway, on to Cold Day Memory, which we mentioned about the cold and snow here in Cleveland.
Yeah.
April 20th, 2010. 12 songs here. This was produced by Johnny K. Of Disturbed fame and many other albums. Brian did get back to us and said that around Animosity or Seasons, like you said, that he got to go backstage. He said, John D, I assume that's Drake.
That's correct.
Talked himself backstage and then talked us all backstage too. So it sounds like I missed out on going to shows with John Drake back in the day. So apparently he's quite the schmoozer. So, but anyhow,
John Drake is a big fan of Sevendust. So.
Yes, he is, and I do realize that. So I guess it doesn't surprise me that they were backstage with him because I know he's a big fan too. He knows a lot of people, so
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. He just happens to know people that were working at the Agora and working security or whatnot at the time, and we're like, hey, and then it's like, hey, aren't we buds? Let's, but I can't go by myself. I need my guys too, man. Come on. So that's cool. Good for you. I wish it was me. Like I said, I've met all 5 of these guys. I haven't partied with them as a band or been backstage with them, but I've met all 5 of them at different times. But all great people, so it would have been fun to be able to party with them at least once at some point. So Cold Day Memory, Clint Lowry is back. Right away, there's kind of more memorable songs and riffs here from the last album. I feel like Clint's return as a songwriter makes a difference here, although as we mentioned, Alpha's really good with Sonny, and there was no Clint. Even Next probably had some maybe stuff that Clint worked on because it said all songs written by Sevendust. There might have been stuff that he had worked on, but maybe didn't get specific writing credit for, but definitely not on Alpha. So that stuff was really good too. But you can definitely tell here that Clint's back, and like you said, there's more harmony, more Clint singing along too, which Sonny didn't do a lot of. So. This album, also there's 2 bangers like right away, and then there's 3 straight kind of radio rock tracks. Not that they're bad songs, they just kind of start to run together. The 2 hits of those 3, I do like the 2 hit songs of those 3 though, but still it's just kind of the first 2 I'm like, yes, here we go, and then the next 3 I like the songs, but one of them is one that I can't really get out of my head. It's very memorable. It's just not heavy, and that's Karma. I love Karma, but it's just not heavy. But it's one of those ones. I wake up, I listen to that song, I wake up 3 days later, and I still have that song stuck in my head. I just can't get that out of my head, and it's great lyrically too. I'm not a lyrics guy, and I know you kept mentioning like Elephant Gun, other things. I don't really care much about that stuff, but I do like when they kind of tie things together because I feel like too many times like lyrics are just kind of open-ended, which kind of by design, it's thoughts, it's feelings just kind of put down. But I do like Karma in that it has a whole like overarching theme of what karma is, and I like it because it makes sense to me. But again, I'm not a lyrics guy. It's very melodic. It really gets stuck in my head, so I do like that one a lot. This band will kind of always straddle the line of heavy and kind of radio rock. They do both of them very well. We've both mentioned that a million times already. I just prefer the heavier stuff, but I do like a good bit of the other stuff too. It's not like it's other stuff and then it's totally different either. It's still them. It's just not quite as heavy. So it's just that the radio rock stuff is what I was mentioning before. It kind of starts to sound repetitive and kind of formulaic a little bit sometimes. They cut way back here. This is where I miss Morgan Rose. I'm like, I need more Morgan Rose. They cut way back in the Morgan Rose vocal parts on this album. Generally, those are the heavy songs, the heavier songs that I'm more drawn to. So, but there is still a ton to like on this album. Splinter, I love. Forever, I love. Karma is great. The End is Coming. Strong Arm Broken is another banger to end the album. I mean, just some of these album closers are just the best songs on the album sometimes. And I'm like, man, why do they put these at the end? But it's so cool because you get to the end and you're like, bam, this one really, you almost leave with a smile on your face every time. It's a happy ending to a Sevendust album. So they don't all end that way, but some of them, most of them seem to.
Yeah.
There's no skippers for me on this album, though. There's nothing here that I thought was like super boring. Just like I said, some of it just kind of gets a little repetitive, but there's nothing that was boring for me here to I wanted to skip. So because of that, this is a B plus. This is number 5 for me. This is yet another good to really good album with memorable songs just about all the way through. But I can get why people can kind of get bored of Sevendust at the same time when, album after album after album, and it's a lot of the same stuff. Even though it's still really good and I still really like it, I can see why people get bored of it. So, but B plus number 5 for Cold Day Memory. What did you think?
This is really, really good album. This is actually our buddy Hendo. This is his favorite album.
Nice.
This is where he got into them and really hasn't found anything that's as good as this. For me, it was very solidly my number 5 behind all of those top 4 albums for many, many years. And this was the one that got bumped with Alpha. So Alpha's my number 5. So this one is clearly then my number 6. I really love the songwriting here. I think that does kind of show what was missed with Clint. The harmonies are really good. Some of it leads itself to what you're speaking of, the radio friendly stuff. Definitely Unraveling, definitely Last Breath. I mean, these are their hit songs off of here. But yeah, this is a great album. I mean, they do the heavy stuff really cool. The light stuff really, really great. It just Lejean can sing everything. That's kind of the benefit to him. And of course the riffs are great, and of course the drums are great. Splinters is great. Forever Dead. Karma is really good. Karma I didn't like for a while. Everybody really liked it, and it grew on me over time. Ride Insane is awesome.
It was Karma. Karma
Yeah,
made you like it.
It was. How bittersweet is Karma?
I know, it's so good, man.
The End Is Coming. Yeah, this is front to back. This is a great album. This is kind of where it has to go. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, like this is a great spot for it there, just right after those first 4. Swag Dubs is with us here. He's definitely their best after 4. But like I said, Alpha's the one that snuck in that I liked. Give that a listen, Swag, if you can. Alpha really surprised me. That's the other one I would throw in there in the top 6, I guess you could say. But yeah, Cold Day Memory is phenomenal. I love this album. I come back to it a lot. And again, this is the one Hendo talks about all the time too. So Cold Day Memory, number 6, B+ for me. Great album.
All right. Black Out the Sun, March 26, 2013. 13 songs here. This is produced by the band and only the band and nothing but the band. Production's a little thin here, again, lacking the low end. You can't hear much bass work in there. Poor Vinny got buried, or the lower end kind of drum stuff. More electronic stuff and effects added on this one too. Maybe that was the focus in making the thinner sound, that they try to focus on these kind of added elements, which kind of were maybe always there a little bit in the background, but just more kind of in the forefront on this one. They tried to come into the studio on this one with very little material already written, which is the way they always did it, to try to keep things fresh on this one. They're like, let's just go in and just try to write the songs in the studio. Except for Decay. The song Decay, it dates back to a Cold Day Memory. So that was one that was kind of already written. But I appreciate the heaviness of the song Till Death, the third song, but it just isn't a great song. And I don't say that often with this band. Usually I love the heavier stuff. That one kind of just doesn't really do it for me on this one. It's just doesn't really have any kind of memorable qualities to it. It's just heavy. But I overlooked this album a bit. It didn't get a lot of listens like most of the rest of their catalog. I think it's because the songs they're just not as strong and memorable on this one. And I kind of, as I listened to it this time, like this one has maybe some of the least amount of plays for me over time for an album that's been out for 12, 13 years. But I didn't really find that there was anything that grabbed me. We're like with Alpha, where I was like, oh man, I forgot how many great songs were on here. I didn't feel that way about this one.
Yeah.
At all. Mountain has a cool groove to it. Dead Roses is pretty good, albeit not really memorable. Murder Bar is a kind of a banger, way to end the album again.
Yeah.
Although it's not a super memorable song though, but it is kind of heavier. But those are the three songs I really like though: Dead Roses, Mountain, and Murder Bar. The Skippers again, like Till Death, just doesn't really work for me, even though it's heavy. Cold as War doesn't work for me either, really. And Got a Feeling, that song really kind of bores me there right before Murder Bar. So I was happy to hear Murder Bar after that. Maybe I like that song a little bit more because it was after Got a Feeling and I didn't really care for Got a Feeling. So I had a feeling I wasn't going to like Got a Feeling. But B minus, number 12 for me. This is one of those three that I had tied at B minus, and this is the last of those, the bottom of those three. But I don't like things about this one, which there's even more of later on an album, and that's why that one's my 13th album and last one. But this is not the best output from them for me. Just not enough memorable stuff here to keep me coming back to this one. What did you think of Black Out the Sun?
Yeah, this one to me is very similar to Next. I like some stuff off of here, but I don't love the album as a whole. Definitely not as bad as Chapter 7 for me. I think there are at least some bangers here that I really like. I like Faithless. It's really, really good. Cold as War is okay. I like the title track, Black Out the Sun is pretty good. I think Decay is really, really good. It's probably one of the better singles that they had later on. They kind of nailed that with the cool, heavier riff. And then, like you said, Murder Bar is quite the way to end it. But other than that, like a lot of it for me is not great. Till Death and Mountain, I wouldn't skip, but I don't love those songs either. But just to me, this is just kind of subpar for them, even though it's still better than what a lot of other people would do. I still praise them for their consistency. It still sounds like them. They didn't try to do anything totally different. Just to me, the songs aren't as good here. But there's a handful of really good stuff. So to me, I had to kind of put this up against Next. And I put this at number 8 in just a regular B. Next, I had 9. This one 8. I could flip those two around. They're kind of the same type of thing for me. But Black Out the Sun just didn't live up to Cold Day Memory for me. So number 8 and a B for me. Black Out the Sun.
Okay. After that one, they came out with this acoustic album called Time Travelers and Bonfires. It's got 6 original songs to start the album and 6 acoustically redone songs from previous albums. And those songs are Gone from Seasons, Denial from Home, Trust from Animosity, Crucified from Animosity, Karma from Cold Day Memory, and Black from the self-titled debut. So those are all acoustic. Are there any particular songs? I feel like I think you said you're a pretty big fan of this one.
Yeah, no, this is fantastic, especially.
So, go ahead.
I think Lejean, this is the Lejean album to me. This is just him crooning, to these acoustic songs. Come Down, I think, and The Weight are the 2 songs that really are kind of the standouts to me. That we're not ranking this album to us. It's not really a full album, more of an EP with the new stuff, but definitely worth a listen if you really are into more of their ballady type stuff. This is a good one to kind of dim the lights and romance your lady with. So Come Down, The Weight, good stuff. But yeah, definitely a Lejean album as far as I'm concerned. So
okay. Yeah, a lot of it, some of it written solely by Clint Lowry too, so which makes sense with his melodic sensibilities. Yep. This is one that I don't listen to very much. I've heard all of the remade songs on acoustic, and I do like them, but I haven't really listened to the 6 original ones that many times. So this is one I'll come back to. I know you're a big fan of this. You mentioned it before. Didn't really have time to give it a lot of listens during the last couple weeks. We've had other things going on and stuff that kind of made this last another week, because we would have done this last Tuesday, but there was other things going on, so I just didn't really have the time to get into that one a lot, and I wanted to, but I will. So I may have more comments on that at another time. But on to Kill the Flaw, October 2nd, 2015. This is the next actual album we're going to review. 11 songs on here, produced again by the band and only the band. The low end does sound much better on this one. I did notice it's kind of a bit of a return to more heavy material, a little bit. The songs still aren't quite as catchy as earlier stuff, but I do like the heaviness of this album. I feel like I don't know what was going on here, but if it maybe it was the production, but I feel like LeJohn struggled a little bit on this album here and there with some of the higher notes. Like they aren't as clean and get a little gruff sometimes. And I actually have an example of that on Slave the Prey. If you listen to that song, like when he kind of gets to some of the higher stuff there, it actually almost sounds like his voice is starting to weaken and almost give out. Like it kind of gets a little gruff. And I don't know if he is doing that on purpose. Like, I mean, the dude's a fantastic singer. So, and he's always sounded great, even till today. So, I don't know if maybe it was kind of on purpose. It's not terrible. It's just noticeable. And I just, it was something I jotted down as I was listening. I was like, oh, man, it sounds like he's having some struggling to kind of get some of that out there. But my favorites are Thank You. That was a really big song for them. That's the first track on here. It's kind of like you mentioned with the other single. This is one of their more recent, pretty big singles. That's a pretty good song. Chop, I like a lot. I like the choppy riff because it is choppy. I wonder if they just called it Chop because it has such a choppy riff in there.
Probably.
Because it doesn't really seem to mean anything as far as the lyrics go. So it maybe just named it because of that. But I also like Torched, and I like Slave the Prey, even though he did seem like maybe he had some vocal issues, especially on that song, but in other spots on this album too. But I do like that song. There's no skippers. There's really no boring slow songs on this album. So I have this as a B. I kind of have it as a number 9. It's better than the weakest albums, but it's just not up there with the best they can do for sure for me. So I don't hate it. Like again, I have almost all these in a B range except for one album. So it's not like I don't like any of them. It's just I had to rank them somewhere, and this one just the memorability of it is just not quite there, even though it's heavier like I like. So, but that kind of was what puts it above the other 3 albums. So, number 9 is a B. What did you think of Kill the Flaw?
Yeah, this is the unfortunate start for me of 3 albums that run really close together, and it was really hard for me to kind of delineate between the 3. I guess this is where they're at in their career, but these 3 took me the longest to listen to. I do like this one the best of the next couple. Not as good as basically anything that we've talked about for me, but top heavy. I like Thank You, Death Dance. I do like Forget. Chop is okay. The title track is okay. It all kind of sounds the same to me, and I don't think it's not bad. It just when I'm going in to rank these albums, it just none of these songs really stay with me. I remember I bought this album when it came out, and it got a lot of plays early on, and then it kind of faded into the whatever with me. It just kind of in there, right? So not a lot of songs I come back to. Torched is a good closer for sure. Again, they're really good with those closers. But to me, this is just kind of, I don't know. It's kind of average, and again, average for them is a lot better than a lot of people's. But later in the catalogs, these guys are a little bit older now. I feel like they just are having a little harder time being super creative and coming up with hooks that I want to sing to, like I used to, right? Where like none of these songs have the staying power of like the Enemies and the the Praise and Denial and all those like songs that you think of with them. So
preach it, partner.
Yeah. So
you're so right.
Kill the Flaw for me is number 10. Like I said, it's kind of, you're going to see right here, this is going to be my 10, 11, 12 in a row here. This is the best of these next 3, but this is still number 10, and we're in B- territory here with these next 3. They're all very similar. Again, still B's. I mean, they're still good.
Yeah.
They're solid, but just the difference to me is the songs.
Yeah.
And here they're just not quite there. So
I hear you loud and clear. On to All I See Is War, May 11th, 2018. We both have a lot of the same sentiments on these albums. So,
Yeah.
12 songs here. This is Elvis now, our buddy Elvis. Michael Elvis Besket produced this album and all three of these last three albums he produced. They chose to work with Elvis to kind of reboot the band's sound, they said. Elvis had been a fan since the album Home. He had been a fan of theirs, and he wanted to work with them, and he said he hoped to help the band kind of recreate the impact of the sound of the Home album. Really, really good full sound on this album. It helps, I think, to have a top producer, where the last bunch they've kind of just done on their own, which I'm sure they saved a lot of money. And, they do a good job of that themselves too. They know what they're supposed to sound like. But to have a producer, it feels like a real top-notch one too, just really creates a really nice, rich, full sound for them. It really does sound good. Usually writing about 30 songs for an album, they said. Also, they allegedly wrote 50 to 60 songs for this one. I was blown away by that they write 30 songs for an album, and almost all their albums have between 10 and 13 songs. So I was pretty blown away. They write that many. They write 3 times almost the number of songs that make the album. I mean, some bands are like write 15. Like this band writes 30, and they wrote 50 or 60 for this one. That's insane. That's an insane amount of work. All in a couple years too, but that's crazy. But unfortunately, I wish there was some better stuff in here out of the 50 or 60 songs. I really do. And maybe there was that didn't make it, but I don't know how they choose them. But the song Dirty has kind of it's the first track, and it kind of has a more of a traditional old school Sevendust sound to it. I noticed that kind of right away. The ballad, Not Original, is inspired by Stranger Things, and it's kind of an attempt to get into a little bit new territory for them. The song's also about being in a dry spell and unable to find creativity, which is kind of how it got the name Not Original. Not a bad song though, but favorites on here are Dirty, Medicated, Cheers, Risen, and Life Deceives You. Life Deceives You, I don't really remember that song from before, and it wasn't, I guess, memorable to me, 8 years ago when this came out. But I really, really dug that song this time for some reason. I listened to it, and then I was like, man, I'm like, what was that again? Because it like caught my attention. I listened to it again, and I'm like, man, that's a pretty good song. I kind of like that one. So this is one that, it's pretty much like you said, it's exactly the same rating for me as Kill the Flaw. Like I could flip a coin between these two. It's not a lot of it's really memorable, but there's also no skippers for me. It's just it's all pretty solid, but it's just kind of a solid B, which is kind of average for them, even though that's really good for a lot of other bands. But it's kind of exactly the same. But this one, I think it got less listens from me than Kill the Flaw did. So maybe I might like this one a little bit more if I gave it a little bit more time. I just feel like because of Kill the Flaw, I was just like, I probably heard like half of this one and just kind of zoned out and was like, yeah, this is kind of like the last album. It's good. It's just not to their standards of really good or excellent, So, but I had this as a B. I have it a little bit ahead of the last album, number 8. But again, these two are pretty interchangeable for me. And hard to rank, really, when we get into these. It was really hard to rank some of these. So, but All I See Is War, I have a B, number 8. What did you think?
Yeah, see, this one, now I've seen we've talked about how many times we've seen Sevendust.
Yeah.
I've never seen any song off this album live, not once.
Interesting. I don't remember ever seeing one either, honestly.
Yeah, and I don't think they came to Cleveland for this album.
I would think Dirty might be the only one they would do, because I know it was their first single off of this one too, and it's the first track. But yeah, I don't know.
So they came in 2016, and then they didn't come again here to Cleveland until 2021. And 2021 was their next album after this, so they never really toured here for that. But I thought it was funny that even by 2021, they still weren't playing anything off this album.
Did they play anything off of Kill the Flaw? It would be funny if they just ignored both albums completely.
Yeah, I think they did for the 2021, I believe.
Okay.
We'll check that real quick.
Yeah, no.
No, they didn't play anything off Kill the Flaw or this one when they came in 2021. But they were also touring for Blood from a Stone at that point, or Blood and Stone, I should say. The song's called Blood from a Stone.
They just completely left out both
They just
albums.
left it
That's
out.
too funny.
But yeah, so this one, again, not super memorable to me. I don't even think I bought this one. I think I just probably listened to it on Spotify or whatever. The hits were, I think, about all that I really found super interesting off this. I liked Risen. I think Unforgiven was also a single off
Yes, it
here,
was.
and then Dirty was pretty good. That's about it for me. Again, I was kind of ranking these ones against each other. Again, sounds good. It's just there's not a whole lot of memorable stuff, so I'm almost kind of repeating myself off the last album. So this one's number 11 for me. Just not a whole lot to really like. Was kind of feeling a little down on this band, and not because it was bad. It's just, you know, you like we've talked about with a bunch of bands before. You just like, okay, they've done all their best stuff. They're just kind of coasting now.
Yeah,
it's not bad, but it's just that these songs are not really memorable to me. So all I see is War, number 11, and a B minus. So
all right. Yeah, I wonder if maybe those 50 or 60 songs, maybe they're all left over from other albums. And
yeah, could be.
That could be too, you know. But it doesn't mean they wrote all 50 of them, I guess. I just kind of hit me that I'm like, yeah, maybe they're all kind of leftover songs. Anyway, Blood and Stone, October 23rd, 2020, as you just mentioned. 13 songs on here. This is Elvis once again. You know, not the original, you know, Elvis, but, you know, Elvis. A little bit more use of effects, it sounds like to me on this one. Sounds really good though. Again, it's full and spatial, and like you can hear different things in different. It sounds really cool in headphones. Elvis really, I mean, the man really knows what he's doing. Of course, it does make a difference. Morgan Rose background vocals again. I'm missing those. A little sparse on this one. Maybe he's just not as angry as he gets older. I don't know, but he's not yelling angry things, which kind of detracts from me a little bit from Sevendust because that's part of their sound. This band doesn't do a lot of cover songs, but the Soundgarden one on here, "The Day I Tried to Live," is actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's cool.
I thought it was a pretty good cover, like for a band that really doesn't do much covers at all, but they don't need to. They got a million of their own great songs, but yeah, that was a cool one. I was like, you know, that one kind of got by me. I don't know that I really listened to that a whole lot when this came out, and then through this time, making sure I listened to the whole thing, I was like, wow, that's actually pretty good. My favorites on this one were "Dying to Live," "Feel Like Going On," "Desperation." I love that simple like chugging riff again. Like I can't get over that. Like I love the simple chug riff. I just love it. So whenever they can fit it in there and do it a little differently than they have all the other million times they've done it, I love it. I just can't get enough of it. Skippers, "Nothing Left to See," or "Here," I guess. "Here Anymore." Nothing Left to See Here Anymore is the name of the song. I didn't really like that one very much. It was pretty boring. I have this as a B minus. I have this one as number 11. This is in the group of B minuses that this was kind of the most recent one, and I don't know. There's some to like here for sure, but after Desperation, so there's four songs and then the cover, and those four songs really kind of fall off a bit for me. And that part of the album is pretty dull, even with the decent cover of Soundgarden's "Day I Tried to Live." So number 11, B minus. What did you think of Blood and Stone?
Yeah, this is other than Chapter 7, this is my least favorite Sevendust album. To me, just like bottom of the barrel, like as far as song quality. I really had a hard time finding stuff here I really liked. "Dying to Live," the opener, is a single, I think, which is good. "Blood from a Stone," I think, is pretty good. I mentioned that one. They were playing that one live. Not a whole lot here. "The Day I Tried to Live" is cool. You mentioned that. I thought it was interesting that Lejeune singing that song. It was very interesting to me, but I liked it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he doesn't try to sing it,
No.
like Chris Cornell, and nobody can. So it's a good thing that he just sings it Lejeune's way, and I kind of still liked it. I'm like, it was a good cover.
Yep, really good. But again, the riffs don't really stand out that much here. Just not very memorable. I didn't feel like, I don't know. I kind of lost hope about this band, about releasing something that I really, really like. But luckily, I did like the next album quite a bit more
Yeah,
than this one.
we're gonna super differ on that one.
But not because of just because a couple strong songs. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what it comes down to. The difference of it is, but
Fair enough.
this one, no. Number 12, B- for me. I think it helps when you don't see a lot of these songs live, and I think maybe the fact that they have such a strong first half of the catalog, they don't have a lot of room to play a lot of these songs. But Blood and Stone, it just, again, you don't see a lot of it live. You don't really get a chance to hear another version of it, like a lot of these other songs that I love from them. So I think that kind of hurts it too. But number 12, B-. Not a huge fan of this one.
Yeah, weird album cover too with their iconic like block letter Sevendust logo, like, and they did try to change a couple times in middle albums, but at least it was always on there. This one just has a bunch of stones stacked up
Yeah.
and water that's red. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's weird. Like you wouldn't even know this was a Sevendust album. Which
Right.
is strange. But all right, on to Truth Killer, which ironically also doesn't really say Sevendust. It might in that like the real small writing on the side, but again, no big block letter Sevendust on this one either. But
it's just got a 7 and a D at the top left corner.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yep, you're right. That's it. Which is what Morgan usually has in his drum head.
Yeah,
bass drum head. So, Truth Killer, July 28th, 2023. If we were doing this podcast 4 months from now, we would have a 14th album to do. So it's definitely not their last one, but it's their most recent one as of now. This was Elvis again. All right, so I got some thoughts on this one. Like the last couple, I didn't really have much to say. This one I do because I don't like it as much. This is the bottom for me. I'm going to say right up front. This is 13. This is the only one I have in the C range, and this is why.
Okay.
What a terrible, terrible, terrible opening track to this album. Like, what the F, man?
I don't know.
What is that? This is probably maybe my least favorite Sevendust song ever written. I don't know what it's doing on this album or opening this. I just want to call it an intro and just skip it.
Yeah.
I don't even want to give it anything because it's 427. It's terrible. I don't know. It's the most downer of a song to open an album I've ever heard. I don't know what they were trying to do there, what the point of that was, but it was dumb. There's lots of electronics on this one. Most of these songs start with something electronic, not a chunky guitar riff, not LeJohn singing beautifully like he can. A lot of electronics. Sometimes okay, sometimes WTF, like the opening track. This really gets into not them territory for me, especially songs like No Revolution. They don't need to do this stuff. Their sound is and always has been current sounding. They don't need to try to sound more current. They do it already automatically. They have an original sound and they sound current just by writing what they write. So even though the last few albums maybe weren't great and maybe they're trying something different, which I can't crush them for trying to do. I don't like it, but I can't crush them for trying to do something different. Maybe they knew it was kind of getting stale too. But for me, this wasn't the way to go. Like, try to write better songs. Like, try to write better things like you did not so long ago. Just not on the last couple albums. But, try to maybe keep it more true to yourselves. Like, but again, I can't crush them for trying something different. But I don't like it. This one has really low play totals on Spotify also compared to even the other more recent albums like we just talked about. This one doesn't seem to be very well liked by the masses outside of me. Now that doesn't necessarily mean, hey, like I know and everybody else agrees with me, because there's also Alpha, which I love, it isn't very well liked either. So that's not what I'm trying to say. It's just I was kind of surprised that their most recent album, they tried to kind of sound a little more current with some of what other bands are doing now, that it wasn't better received. I was kind of surprised by that. So my favorites, I guess, are Truth Killer. I like that song. Everything, I guess, I like. It's a good song, but only parts of it sounds like them to me. Leave Hell Behind, I like. Fence is a good closer of a song, but except for what was that? Was that a synth solo in there at about 2 minutes and 30 seconds? I mean, with these two great guitarists, you're going to put a synth solo in there? Are you kidding me? You got these two dudes playing guitar and you're going to do that. Like,
Yeah.
that's terrible. Or it was either that or was it just an unrecognizable, over-affected guitar? I'm not sure, but it's terrible either way. I don't know what that is in the middle of that song, but take that out and I kind of really like that song. But I'm like, what is this? I never would have thought I would have heard like a synth solo on a Sevendust record, but there
Yeah.
it is. So that one kind of really threw me too. So, but again, the song's not terrible. So, skippers for me, again, well, I'll just put the opening track. I might let the devil win. That's the name of it. Just really track one. It's just a terrible song in general. I don't know what it's doing there. It wouldn't have been good anywhere on this album, but the first song, it's just dumb. So this is a C plus, number 13. This one isn't great for me. Weird use of electronics. It isn't really them. Kind of like they're kind of almost going for like an Ice 9 Sevendust kind of feel.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that popped in my head when I'm like, man, what's this? A lot of like Ice 9 Kills stuff in here.
Yeah.
Which is, current and popular, but it just doesn't really fit them. It's kind of weird to sound that from them.
Yeah.
So, but again, it's the only one I kind of consider in the C range, which is a real testament to how much I love this band for going on 30 years. That this is the bottom for me, and I still have it as a C plus.
Yeah. Yeah.
It kind of sucks though that this is the most recent album. It is my least favorite of all their albums. That's the only letdown for me.
Yeah.
I kind of wish this was buried in the middle somewhere and I can just skip over, but this is the most recent one, and it's like, man,
but at least it's not the last one they're ever
right.
going to do.
That's what I was just going to say. At least there's one more album coming out, at least because it's called One, but it comes out May 1st, 2026. So in another few months here, hopefully I'll have something better and I won't have to leave off with that one. But I think you liked it more than I did for sure. What did you think of Truth Killer and why did you like it more? Because it's
I mean, basically you alluded to what it just sounds a little bit different. It was interesting to me. While I can agree, it's definitely not them. To me, it was a little bit different than the last three, which to me were like watching paint dry. It was just like, okay, this, like, I thought it was really cool. Like, I was like, okay, now I don't like all of it. Now, to me, it's not in those bottom three range. It's in the next three range. So it's in with Next and Black Out the Sun. It's like that for me, where there's a handful of songs I really, really like, but the whole album itself, again, I just think it's kind of past that. But the song, like, so when I saw them live, that I Might Let the Devil Win, they opened with that, but half the song, if not more, was on like tape, like where they do the cassette. They like the weird like thing that they do in it, the dun 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 dun, like the little droning type thing that they do,
and then they open with Black after that,
and then they went into Truth Killer and then into the song Alpha, which was crazy.
Okay, yeah, that's a really weird sweep there.
Yeah, so but they probably just did that song into Truth Killer because that's the natural into the album. But man, I think when I heard Truth Killer, I kind of stopped for a second. I was like, all right, this is the best song that I think that they've written probably in 3 album cycles. I really like Truth Killer, and then everything you mentioned, I really like that one as well. Leave Hell Behind, I think you might have mentioned that one too. Yeah, that Fence is awesome. I totally love that song. That was the first one I heard. I think it's the stupidest name for a song. They have a lot of those, like Waffle, and
they like the one name. It seems like the one word name. They love that. There's so many. And I wondered, like, how have they not mistakenly named 2 songs with the same one word name? Because there's so many of them. It's like, I feel like I bet they have. They probably called one. They're like, oh no, we used that word already. It's just so weird. But
So so again, if you kind of look at the way that these albums line up for me, like, to me, the top 6 are awesome, like killer albums. No pun intended with Truth Killer here, but then it's like the top 6 then the next three, and then the next three, and then I think the worst. To me, they kind of like go in phases. So, like I said, this one kind of fits into those three with Next and Blackout the Sun. I have it at 7. It could be 7, it could be 8, it could be 9. Those three can kind of be moved around for me. But it was new and it was fresh and it was a little bit exciting. And, that was the difference for me is those three were so stale. This one just felt like they had a little bit more, I don't know, heart into it. Like, let's do something different. And I appreciated that. So I get why you just aren't quite a fan of it. I totally understand that. But for me, number 7, it's a B. It just has enough songs that I really like that I didn't have the last couple albums. That this one just kind of stuck with me. It's newer, so I could still go either way, especially with their new one. But again, with this album, with me personally, it's made me a little excited for the new one because if it would have been another one just like those other three for me, like Paint by Number, Sevendust, I don't know that I would be excited for this new one.
Yeah.
So at least there's that. So
yeah. Funny though that a couple things. One, I knew that wouldn't be your bottom because of what it sounds like, and I figured you'd be a bigger fan of it than I am, just because of all the other stuff we've talked about. 2, it's so funny now where our albums might be in different places and in different spots in our list. I have almost the exact same thing you do. I have a top 6 that are all I love.
Yeah.
And then I have a next 3, and then a next 3, and then a bottom 1.
Yeah.
I have it exactly like you do. It's so funny because I'm looking at mine. I'm like, wow, I have exactly the same thing you just described. So yeah, let's get through them.
Go ahead.
So 13 for me is Truth Killer. I had that as a C+. 12, I have Blackout the Sun. 11, I have Blood and Stone. 10, I have Chapter 7, Hope and Sorrow. Those are all 3 B minuses. Number 9, I have Kill the Flaw. Number 8, I have All I See Is War. Number 7, I have Seasons. Those are all B's for me. Number 6, I have Next. Number 5, I have Cold Day Memory. Number 4, I have Animosity. Number 3, I have Alpha. Number 2, I have Sevendust. And number 1, I have Home. And those 6 are all quite a bit kind of better than the next 6. Now, I know that we won't agree on which albums are where, but it's just so funny that it worked out that way for me too, just like it did for you. So what did you
just the groupings of them?
Yep, it's so funny.
Number 13, I had Chapter 7, Hope and Sorrow. Number 12, Blood and Stone. Number 11, All I See Is War. Number 10, Kill the Flaw. Number 9, Next. Number 8, Blackout the Sun. Number 7, Truth Killer. Number 6, I had Cold Day Memory. Number 5, I had Alpha. Number 4, the self-titled debut, Sevendust. Number 3, Home. Number 2, Seasons. And number 1, Animosity. And Swag Dubs had given us his, which he had Animosity number 1, Seasons 2, Home 3, Sevendust 4, Cold Day Memory 5, Chapter 7 at 6, Next 7, and 8 he had Alpha. He had to stop there.
He said he stopped at Cold Day Memory, which I believe is the 8th album, right? So that makes sense. Cool. Thanks, Brian, for doing that. I always enjoy seeing what other people's ranks, and thanks for your comments in there too. So, and your story about partying with him backstage. I'm jealous. So I wish it was me. So many times I've seen him, you think I'd get a courtesy backstage pass one time to have a couple beers with him. I spent enough money on these guys.
No kidding.
But that's awesome.
Very good. All right, partner. Well, next week
wraps one of our favorite bands.
Yeah, no, Sevendust is one of the ones we wanted to do for sure.
Just a shade under 2 hours.
Yep. Next week we will not be here. We're going to tackle the band Scorpions, and they have 19 albums. So we are not going to do that in 1 week. We are just going to take our time, get through them. So we will be back 2 weeks from tonight to do Scorpion, and we will do them probably on Tuesday at 6:00 Eastern time. We're going to need that extra time for sure. That time.
Yes. Yeah. That'll
19,
be maybe even longer than this one,
yeah.
But we don't love them as much, I guess, as this band. So, but
Swag Dubs interviewed Scorpions.
Well, maybe
too.
This will be long because we're going to have to hear about that. Good for you, man. Look at you with all the rubbing shoulders with the great ones here.
With the German Scorps.
Yes, good stuff.
Very cool.
We'll also expect a review of the Ghost extravaganza down in Columbus that you and your son are going to.
Yes.
Which I haven't completely ruled it out, but it'll be kind of a game time decision. I got a lot of stuff going on mid to late February, so we'll see what's going on at the beginning of February. My birthday is also later that week too. So there's and Kelly's birthday's in February also. So there's just going to be a lot going on. But
right,
since you're going anyway, we'll see. I've talked to Kelly about it. We're kind of, I don't know, but you guys are going anyway, so we might just tag along, but we'll see.
Okay, yeah, let me know. I was excited to go, and I'm still excited to go, but
yeah,
I was hoping they would change up some of the set list songs.
I was gonna ask that. I haven't looked, and I'm wondering what's changed as far as the shows we've already
literally
seen.
nothing, which is a disappointment because we basically saw the same show twice.
Okay.
Yeah, there could be one of those substituted songs again where I think
but the production, the stage, that's probably all going to be pretty much the same. And it makes sense. It wasn't that long ago, but
right. But I was hoping they would at least maybe add a few of the new songs off of the new record.
Me too.
Or something
Me too. Yes, I was.
Looks like that's a no. It looks like it's all the same. So again, I'm a little disappointed, but that might be information that you make a decision with. But either way,
that actually might help actually push us one way or the other. We did really enjoy the show though, so it's not like we wouldn't enjoy it again. And Kelly only saw it once, where you and I saw it twice. But But we'll see. It also depends on maybe. It hasn't sold very well in Columbus, to be honest. Like there is more than half of it are empty seats right now. So maybe we'll get some cheap tickets somehow. That could go a long way to whether we go or not.
Sure.
So we'll see. But anyway, we'll expect, even if I don't go, we'll expect a review. So
absolutely.
That would be pretty much the same.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to our Sevendust extravaganza. And we will see you, of course, in the next one.
Rock on.
Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What would you say you do here?
God damn it. Bob, we love playing here tonight. My brother's ready.
It helps if you think of it as a game, Bob. Every game has a winner and a loser.
You must possess strength to inflict pain, Bob.